Hello and welcome. My name is Annette Anthony. I'm your host today for our monthly Tech and R. All eyes are focusing on our exit workflows in action. And we're so excited to present this session to you today. We have a very special guest. It's Steve Lambert, broker owner of Exit Realty Tri-Cities. Hey, Steve, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for being here. You know, our month for March is focusing on community and connection. And we've asked Steve, to help us understand a little bit better about how to create community and connection within his office. Now, for our audience, I want you to have a little understanding of how this came to be. Now, Steve, you're very tech savvy. We've known this about you from the very early years of when we got to know you. And when we first launched our exit workflows, you jumped right in. And most recently, there was a video about you sharing your expertise and your initial use of the exit workflows. And this was shared among your broker owners, the broker owners from the Exit Pacific region. And you know what I appreciate that about you is that you're willing to share how you're using tools and technology with your peers. And your use really really caught our attention, and we're just so excited to have you with us today so that you can show our vast audience what workflows are and how you're using them in your business. Now, further, for our audience, we launched the exit workflows back in Q4 of 2024, and early adopters like Steve ran with it, right? Now, what Steve also is doing is he's helping us understand how he's using exit workflows with very easy common sense adjustments that he's presented to us, and we're making those changes right now. So Steve, thank you so much for your feedback. It really helps us improve this product better. Now, if you're unfamiliar with workflows, basically what they're processes for any task that you wish to follow through. So for instance, if you have a new lead, there's a process for that. If you have a seasoned agent who just joined your office, well, there's a process for that. If there's possibly a new listing that just hit the market, well, there's a process for that too. And there are great leaders within Exit that have processes, and when their agents follow it, you have consistency and nothing slips through the cracks, which is really important. Now, our workflows are very similar to like a Jira or an Asana. However, with a very big exception, our workflows incorporate our data. So for example, our roster of our exit associates, lead generation tools, as well as our listings, our agents who join Exit Realty, all of that is integrated into workflows. And what it does is it gives our owners a chance to help more agents move through the steps. So when they see agents getting stuck, that's an opportunity for our owners to be better mentors to our agents. And of course, when you use the tools that we provide, you can customize them, you can create from scratch, there's no limit. Now, what we're gonna do today, I've got an overview because we wanna make this Tech and R count. We have a vast audience who is participating with us today, whether it's our exit associates, it's our franchisees, it's agents who are not with Exit, but they're leaning into what are the tools and resources that are provided to help them be successful. And yeah, even consumers also potentially join our webinars so that they understand what type of tools are our agents using to deliver a great real estate sales experience. So this is what we're gonna have you cover today, Steve, really helping our people understand a tour, what exactly are the workflows and how you've implemented them in your brokerage. Practical application, things that you've done specifically to help your office, customization and best practices, because we know you've got some great ideas for our people. Lessons learned. I believe this is a big one, Steve, because you've experienced things that other people can learn from. And again, also what I want to focus on is what you're doing is future use, things that you're using today to help you with your workflows that are cutting edge, specifically using artificial intelligence. So without further ado, I want to live drive. And this is where I'm going to go ahead and pass the controls to you, Steve, so that you can show our audience. I'm going to go ahead and make you a presenter. Give us a tour.
Hot dog. All right. Well, thank you so much. That was an awesome introduction. I appreciate that. And one of the things that you really hit on with the system that we have in the workflow is, I think agents and brokers and pretty much everybody in a real estate transaction, I get a lot of feedback that, hey, I feel overwhelmed just trying to keep track. A matter of fact, I had one of my newer agents, she's been with us about 4 months, and she said, where do I go just to keep track of what I'm doing, you know? And it was interesting because she's saying, like, how do I organize this? Like, what things do I need to use and do to organize this? And I thought, the workflows, right? And it's fun because when you have new agents, onboarding is a big challenge for everybody. And when you have tenured agents, how do you keep them engaged and learning? And, you know, and then everybody in between. And so I love that you hit on all that. Our workflow really does encompass so many things that allow us as brokers to have more time so that we can offer more to our agents and brokers throughout the process. And that was one of the big things for me. I remember when the workflows got announced, and I was just super excited. I was like, when can I get my hands on this? When can I get my hands on this? Because I'm always trying to find ways to say, how do I automate systems and put it more in the control of our agents? Because when they're engaged, they feel a sense of ownership. And the more sense of ownership they have, the more excited they are to stay engaged with the process. And I just thought, this is a really cool way to do this. And so when they rolled out, I did jump in. Like you said, I kind of geek out on this stuff. I don't know ones and zeros. I'm not a programmer. I'm not a developer, but I do understand how to mess around with the things. And the one thing that's great about our tools at Exit is you can't break them. So I can go in and mess around with them, and it's not going to break. But I really do like the ability to have all the things. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through I made notes initially when the workflows came out, because I said, how can I use this? And I mean, I still have this paper today. It's kind of funny. It's my little scratch sheet. But one, it was to kind of, I said, why do I want to do this? Well, I want to automate processes, right? I want to make it easier for myself. Two, I want to ensure consistency, because when we have consistency from top to bottom, we deliver a better client experience at the end of the day. And then continuous training. And then, like I said, at the very bottom there was better client experience, because ultimately everything we're doing, whether it's our internal or external clients, is to try to create a better experience. And we can't forget, as when we're on the broker side, whether we're a managing broker, whether we're a trainer within our office or an admin, is that our clients are also our agents and our brokers. You know, our clients are in our four walls and outside of our four walls. So how do we create systems and ways to integrate a consistent messaging across? And that was kind of my big 3 C's. And I love the fact that we're looking at culture within Exit right now, because that's such a big thing and such a big part of who we are. And I have my 3 C's here at my office, which is connection, collaboration, and culture. That's my big 3 C's. And I hit that all the time, because I feel like if we don't have those, then we can't really do anything. So, all right, let's dive into what it looks like. So this is our resource center. For those of you that have not seen this, this is what it looks like. It's kind of our go-to, our hub, our home spot of where we are and how we, and within the Exit system. And so this is super fun. When you log in, you simply go up to the upper corner here, and you'll see that it says workflows. And for those of us within Exit, if you haven't played with this, get in here and hit this button. It's cool. And so what I love is that it brings up a lot of different workflows that we have and within the Exit system. And you'll see here that I've got some things populated, and people might be wondering what all this is about. You'll see I have different agents and all that. What this is showing me right now is my workflows. And so this is who I've assigned them to. You can see I have different agents doing different things based upon kind of where they are when I've assigned it. Some of them are doing better at progressing along than others. I will say that. Christine here hasn't logged in just yet. And then I have little green and orange and yellow. And that tells me the different areas that they're in. If it's in progress or if they're not done with it yet, I can complete it, I can archive it, I can look at where they are in the process. It walks me through all the different pieces. And this is really cool, that when you think about this, like let's say you're a brand new agent. Like I've got Brendan here, this is agent onboarding. He's brand new and he's doing some things here, right? But if I want to see, well, Brendan actually, what's he really up to? What have I been like, where is he at in the process? Because maybe I haven't talked to him for a little while. He's out doing something else. He's kind of got his day going on. And I just want to see, what is he doing? Well, I can just drop this down and I can say, okay, well, okay, collect new agent identification documentation, review our annual membership chart with your agent. These are all things that he's jumped into, and some of the things he snoozed or skipped, because he can do that. He has the freedom to move within all these different steps at his own kind of time frame and leisure. So his agent data here in memo, he has done that. So I don't know why he didn't complete it, but in his checklist for online memo registration, he's a tech guy, so he's jumped in and just kind of taken a lot of this, bull by the horns and got into this. But what's nice for me is I can see where he is in the process.
Yes.
And that's fun, and I think that's awesome. And I want to let people know too, I'm gonna jump around a little bit in this, but I want to go into the library here, because people are saying, well, Steve, where are you finding this? Well, the library, Exit has built just a ton of things for us, which is just awesome. I've got onboarding right here. It's great. I don't have to worry about it. Agent branding and marketing, I don't have to worry about it. But what I love about these Exit built templates, if you will, or workflows, is that this is going to maximize what our agents get within our system. We have a really robust back-end system with our resource center, with branding and marketing tools, that we're really remiss if we don't jump in and look at them and use them, because they are so in-depth and they are so broad. And what's nice is that by doing this, our agents can jump in, and we're kind of getting them exitized and maximizing their ability to really jump into the system and use everything that we have available to us. So I'm a firm believer that we have one of the most, if not the most robust back-end systems in the entire industry. It's phenomenal. And so I love this because I can jump in, and you'll see we've got a sponsoring section, a pending deal checklist, closed deal, post onboarding, which is like, hey, did you retain what we've been giving you? Like, did you just click through, or do we need to go back and revisit some things? So I love the fact that we have this, but the cool part is I can also go in here and you'll see there's some things that I've kind of created. And what's really cool about this is that it's basic stuff. Like, I have the Welcome to Exit Realty Tri-Cities Life, right? It's just a video. If they click on this link, it takes them to a Zoom screen where they can just see a quick little welcome message from me. Super easy, but it just helps personalize it, and it allows me to just have one more touch point. So if they're sitting there at 1 o'clock in the morning and they're like, oh, I better get to this because they can't sleep or whatever, they get to see Steve's smiling face and giving them a welcome message, which is really, really cool. And then I did one for the Connect app, because our Connect app is really, really robust. It's super neat, but we see it on our side of it. Well, what does the consumer see? Well, again, another link to, and I think you're in this, and it's a link to a presentation about what does the consumer see when they jump into our app, right? What do they get to take a look at? And I think that's really important. And I'm going to tie that into on the workflow side of it. As we assign these, if I'm a broker owner or an administrator and I'm assigning this to our agents, what the heck are they seeing on the other side, right? It's easy to go ahead and just mark these out and give it to them, but what are they actually really seeing? And so I'll jump back into the workflows here. So where I have assigned this to people, if I want to see what they're seeing, I'm going to go ahead and jump into one of our agents pages here, and I do have permission from them to do this, and so you'll see what they get to see on their side of it. All right, so this is Jen. She was so kind to let me jump in and take a look, and you can see here that action items pop up on this kind of the lower right side of the screen here, or middle right. She's got some past due things, and whether she's doing it or not checking it off, I don't know, but she has items to do. So she had a lead that came in. So it says acknowledge their inquiry, express your ability to access them, things like that. She can snooze this, skip this, or say she completed it. And it gives them an entire process to follow, following up with email, text, make a phone call. So this is something that just walks you through all the basic steps of what do these do when they get assigned to you. So that's what the end user gets to see. They get to jump in and say, oh gosh, I logged in, I really need to get on this. So for whatever she's doing or however she's approaching it, that's her thing. But it gives me an opportunity to go in and say, well, was she doing what she needs to be doing on this, right? And can I look at that and say, what's going on with the leads? Why is she not doing that? Or is there an issue there? Is there a training issue? And I love that, because so many times agents, as we know, are afraid to bring things up to us. They're not going to sit there and say, well, gosh, a lead came in, what do I do? Because they don't like to ask questions, whether they're just scared of it or they don't want to look like they're not savvy at it. This gives me a great opportunity to jump in and kind of nudge them along and say, is there something that we can work on here, or something that we can find? So that's kind of fun.
You know,
All
and
right.
without a doubt, Steve, what it does is it helps you see them. You're not having to ask them, how's it going, right? Like, you can actually see, and I'm sure they get the idea or the feeling that, wow, he's aware of what I'm doing or not doing. And it does show some accountability. And it also shows how much you care.
I love that you said that, because it's an extra touch point for me. And we know that we're all on the go in this business. We're constantly on the go. I mean, it's pulling teeth, getting people in the office, you're like, come on in for a meeting, let's go. And I've been really excited since this is another thing that I didn't expect to see, but a benefit of having this out there is our attendance at our weekly meetings at our office are really strong. Like, everybody shows up because they know that we're going to be held accountable. And so, kind of in a disconnect, maybe a connected but way I didn't expect to see connected, it's helped with our physical face-to-face meetings when we actually have folks there, because they know that we're gonna cover new things, but they also know that we're gonna talk about workflows a little bit, and we're gonna jump into the RC and go over some things. So kind of a benefit of implementing these has been the ability to get people back into the office, which has been great. So I'm excited about that. That was something I wasn't expecting to see, but they do know that it's another touch point, and I love the fact that they're staying engaged within the system every single day. So, which is awesome. Now we have a couple different buttons, like I said, to choose here. So if we go under automate, this is really fun. You can see I have a new lead received, and it's to everybody. It's to quite a few people here, right? And it's lead follow-up best practices. And this is super fun. I can make it active. I can go ahead and modify it. I can take it away. And when you automate a workflow, you'll see we have a lot of different sections to choose from here. And I think some people might see this and feel a little bit overwhelmed. They're like, all right, like, where do I start with this? Like I said, you can't break our system. You're not going to break it. Go ahead, push buttons. It's not going to fall apart, I promise you, right? And so the fun part about that is that when you go in here, there's different systems. You'll see triggers, which is just simply that. What type of trigger? Is it agent tech onboarding or a new lead received, which we have laid out right here? Is it a listing price change? And how do I want to let my sphere know and make sure my marketing and all that reflects our new pricing? Or is it a brand new listing? So you have different triggers that will create these workflows once you automate them, because you might, I initially thought, oh gosh, if I automate it, they're going to see everything constantly, they're just going to be bombarded. But these triggers are what start that process. And then you have the different workflows. So gosh, you have branding and marketing, sponsoring, pending deal. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, right? And so these are things where I added, like Rick DeLuca, I added his keys to success. This was something I started to add in. So I have added these. Welcome to Exit Realty, Resource Center, Scavenger Hunt is from Exit, which is that, by the way, that's phenomenal. Whoever came up with that one, that was great, because what it does is it gets you involved in the system. I love that one. And then your office is chosen, and then you have your associates, and then different, or you can do it by role. So what's really neat about this is that you can kind of pick and choose workflows, really customize them, and then assign it to somebody based upon a trigger. So when X happens, the next, Y and Z start kind of downflowing. And let's say I look at all this, and you look through the library here, and you go, gosh, that's great, but hey, there is absolutely nothing here for me. I don't like any of these. I don't want to do any of that. Well, you can create a workflow, and it's super easy. You go to the corner, click create workflow, and here it is. So I started working on one a little bit earlier, just for kind of something that has been coming up, questions from my agents. Hey, Steve, for sale by owners, gosh, where do I start? And I'm like, what a great place to start, because it's a great way to kind of refine your messaging, but also ask questions and learn what the marketplace is doing as a whole, because that's information we don't get to see. That's maybe not, because it's not on the MLS. And so kind of get to go into that. In full disclosure, I love Sintra AI. I use it like crazy. So here's my little helpers. And I went in earlier today and I asked, I think it was my personal development person. No, wasn't them. I asked about how do I what's a great workflow for sale by owner? And so if you ever get stuck on ideas, I'll say, whatever people's thoughts are on AI, however you engage or choose to use it, the one thing I love about AI is it's kind of like having an expert that I can call, and I can just plug an idea in and just say, expand upon this idea. And it really gets my wheels turning. And whether I use what they're saying or not, it generally gets me to a great spot in terms of just germinating extra thoughts. So if I want to go in here, I can title this, I can say, FSBO prospecting, I can just put that in there, and I can put a quick description in here, struggling with, excuse my typing, where to start. I'm so bad at that. Look, no further.
Sure.
And it's just something like that, right? And then I can select a category here, and I can say, okay, well, this is property, associates, leads. Let's call it a property, right? Select a property. Well, marketing. So now I've assigned where this is going to be. I've got a title for it. And then I just checked the next box, and it walks me through. When you think of our system and our resource center and basically how the workflows think, I want people to think of the ease. And I'm going to be, I'm not going to go brand agnostic here. I'm going to throw Apple out there for this because there are a lot of folks that use Apple, or even on your Android, when you have it, it just kind of guides you to the next step. So you don't have to be a tech person. You don't have to be a ones and zeros person. It's like, oh gosh, I can't program. None of that's needed. It just walks you through so simply. So I just step title, where, how about that? Where do I find FSBO? Simple. And we can put a description, how are you going to go ahead and find that? Is this a mandatory step? I can make this a yes or a no. So people, if it's mandatory, they can't move on until they click this as being done, right? And I can also assign it a time interval. Is it 1 day, a month, a year, however you want to lay these out there. But I love the flexibility of saying, hey, this is a mandatory step. You kind of got to figure out where you're going to find these, and then what is that time frame? And then this is super cool. I don't know if a lot of people appreciate this, but I love this. This is where you can link to our resource center, and there's all of our tabs are right there, and then you can go to a specific page, right? And I love that. Or a document, and again, I can select a different category. I can go to listing resources, media, our welcome package, startup resources, all these different resources that are available to us within the Exit system. Or I can simply just put in a link where I did the welcome message. I recorded it on Zoom. Zoom creates a link for me, and off I go. I just send it on there, put it on there, or a link to your YouTube, because we have a great YouTube channel with so many different resources. I can put that on there. And then I just add it, and I go to the next step, or I just say finish steps. I can just say that. But this is what it looks like. Now I just did an outline there, but it will have all your steps set up here. It'll just list them all off. And it's just awesome,
Yeah.
And then it's cool. So I save the workflow, and people are like, okay, I hit save, where does it go? Well, here it is, FSBO prospecting, right? So for whatever reason, it came in under Jen because I'm on her side right now. I need to signed it. Whoops. So she'll be okay with that.
Yes. And what's interesting is as you're laying out all the different steps, if you look at it and you're thinking, you know what, some of these steps I need to move, you could just simply drag and drop and reorder, the steps that you're building.
Oh yeah, it's phenomenal. And the thing that I love about this is the flexibility within our own system, and also the ability to modify this as you go along and move along, right? And that's the thing I think is really, really fun. We just have so many different things that we can do within our system. And the workflow, here's what the other thing is that people don't think about. When you look at a real estate transaction and you're trying to stay organized, if I recall my data research kind of hounding, is that on average, agents log into about 7 to 8 different systems to complete a transaction. There's a lot to keep track of. So if you have one central area like our resource center that you can go to and you can log in and just have it tell you, and you can set it from the beginning, 7 days out, just a quick reminder, like you started a new process and you have a new listing, or you've got a deal that's pending now at 7 days. Hey, by the way, did you Have you checked your inspection response? Oh gosh, that's coming up, isn't it? It just gives you a little bit of ramp to where you're not caught off guard on the day that it's due going, oh my gosh, buyer or seller, we got to hurry up and get this back so that we can do that. It takes away that stress. It helps your composure in the transaction, but also just how consumers and your clients feel about you. It makes you just so much more organized, and that just really helps you have a calm sense of demeanor. It was interesting. I did a little AI thing this morning, and because I'm noticing with our agents, as they go through transactions, one of the big things is how do we stay calm and keep our cool and negotiate from a really good spot? Well, that's part of it's keeping our wits about us, right? And I put AI, like, how do I stay calm and collected during a negotiation for a buyer or seller during a real estate transaction? And it just laid out these steps, and they're simple steps, but I'm going to create a workflow on that because I want our folks, and it's going to be assigned to everybody. And this is one of the things that I love about the workflow is that whether you're new or tenured, I can create workflows that are applicable to everybody. And so what that does is it really keeps our agents engaged at whatever point they are in their career. And it's just simple reminders. Sometimes it's not rocket science. It's not reinventing the wheel. I'm simply just putting something together that is just fun for people to work through, and also keeping them tied into our system and creating our culture and our connectedness that I want to see. And that ties into, like I said, exactly what we do with Exit with our community. We're creating our little mini community here, which is created to our bigger community in our region, which is created, with our entire area. So
for sure. Now, Steve, let's say you're a broker owner, hasn't dabbled into workflows. What's your best advice?
Jump in and do it. Jump in and do it. And the first thing is you're going to say, I'm scared because you don't know what you're going to do. Well, create a workflow for yourself. Assign one to yourself, right? I look at it like, Annette, if we go buy a car, right? Generally, I'm going to go to the dealership. What am I going to do? I want to test drive it, right? I want to get behind the wheel and see how it feels. And, and if I have, and what's a great car salesman or any salesperson going to do, right? They're going to say, oh, I've driven this. Oh my gosh, you're going to love this car based upon what you're telling your needs are. So if we kind of move that over into our business world and our industry and kind of our circle, is that if Annette comes to me and you're one of my brokers, well, Annette, what are your needs? Well, Steve, I really want to come up with a different way to, I want to learn how to better market my properties. And, I know we have the ad center and all that within the resource center, but I'm scared to try it. Oh gosh, well, Annette, thanks for sharing that. I've actually tried the ad center out. I can assign a workflow to you and say, there's some great tips I can walk through, that just 3 or 4 simple exercises or steps that are going to get you comfortable with it. But the cool part is if I haven't done that, or the good part is if I have done that, I know what you're going to see on your side of it, right? If I haven't done it, you bet I'm going to be scared to assign it to you, because you might come back and ask me questions that I'm not going to be able to answer. And that's not a great place to be. And so I've tried a lot of these workflows out on myself because I want to log in and see, well, what the heck am I going to see? And that's where I tied that one into your video, where it's like the Exit Connect app. What is, a consumer point of view? What are they seeing on the other side? Because our app is amazing. I see it from it's a resource center on the go, but what does it actually look like to our consumer when we say, hey, you should sign up and use this? And that's really neat. And so I would highly encourage anybody that hasn't tried this to test it on themselves. Assign it to yourself. See what it looks like. See what you can do within there. And then the fun part is once you get comfortable with that, find out where you want to find maybe efficiencies and maybe time gains within your office, and create your own workflows. And then again, test drive it on yourself. And then you'll just go, oh, this step maybe needs to be arranged. Like you said, you just drag it around and save it, and you can create it. And that, I think, is the beauty of what we have with the workflows, is the flexibility and the adaptability of them is phenomenal.
That's a good point that you said, that it's important to see on the associate side, what's it going to feel like when your agents are going to get these notifications? So that's a very good takeaway for our viewers. Go ahead and click on workflows. We do have a vast library, but what if they wanted to make some changes to an existing workflow that maybe to make it more comparable to what they do in their market? How do they go in and edit?
Well, you can duplicate it, right? So let's say I
Mhm.
have the agent branding here and I'm going to duplicate that. And so now it's duplicated here. I can go in and modify this. Let's say everything here is just kind of cool, but let's say I want to change the, the subcategory for this. I want to put it into a different area, and I'm like, well, branding and marketing. Maybe I'm going to make this part of, let's say, my tech onboarding, right? Because there's some tech there. I can go in here and then I can hit next. I can modify this entire piece here, which is great. There's links. I can edit this. I can change the title. I can make the step description have a different guideline. I can make it mandatory or not. I can set time intervals. I might even change what document I want to have this go to, because maybe there's something that I found online that I think better addresses this for our particular needs. That's the fun part, is that whether it's a stock provided, and I call it a stock provided exit workflow, or one that you're customizing, they're kind of all customized, really. And the fun part is that this is what I think is really cool. When you think of exit as a brand, the thought process that went into the workflows, it's very holistic, because they looked at it and they said, okay, let's try and cover all the bases, but maybe a bunch of these bases in my particular market with my particular agent isn't specifically going to be applicable. Well, I can just go in and take it out. I mean, that's the coolest thing, is that you can actually go in and modify this completely and customize it and move it around to however you want it to be. I can move 1 and 2. There's so many things that I can do, that I can update it, clear it, delete it. If I'm like, hey, well, where does this go? I want to view the documents. Where the heck is this taking me? Well, okay, here it is. Google My Business. It's our one pager that we have. I can print this, I can download it, I can take a look at it. And this is just something that this is what my agents are going to see. Again, I'm test driving this right now, right? I'm taking it out for a test drive and saying, what are they seeing on here? And okay, no, I want to leave that. I like where that is. I think that's a great place to start. And so the really neat part is that we have the ability to make all these changes. And so I can update it, and review it, and I can add it and say, okay, I'm done, save the workflow or not. And this is the fun part. You notice how I'm just able to just bounce around all over in here? How cool is this? I mean, like I said, you can't break our system. It's so simple. You just click on things, because you're not going to wreck it. You're not going to create things. You're not going to accidentally assign it to the entire world. You might actually accidentally assign it to some of your people, but that's okay. But you can go back and pull it back. But the fun part is that the system is so robust. And you had mentioned some other systems when we first started about different workflow systems out there, like Asana and things like that.
Right.
The cool part about this is that you don't have to worry about tying it into our system. And so I do encourage people that if they are, and I've heard this, Annette, from other brokers, they're like, Steve, I've got workflows that I'm using and I'm super dialed in. And I get that, and I can appreciate that. Even so, I still really encourage them to jump in, take a look at what these systems are, and just see if they might be able to integrate it, because they might be able to find a savings on time by eliminating a step, because they're in the resource center already. And I'm a firm believer that if I can find ways to take those 7 or 8 sites and compress them into maybe 2 or 3, I'm finding efficiencies that I can scale up. And the nice part about this is that every new person that I have come on board, I have consistency now. They're getting the same agent branding. They're getting the same onboarding process, right? And so I'm creating a consistent messaging, which means everybody is getting the same level of care and in-depth tech training that maybe versus me sitting down with them and taking 2 or 3 hours and we're going through it, on a Zoom screen or whatever, and we're walking through each step. They're able to do this at their own time frame, which I really like. But I love the consistency. And I think even with a larger brokerage, this is super paramount. You can bring people in across the board and everybody is getting that consistent touch. And if there's ever updates to the system, you can simply reassign it to them. And so I love that part of it. I think that's super cool. So to me, that's been a really, really big thing when I'm trying to find agents that are, especially new agents, because they're kind of they're dropped into a big bucket and they're just trying to swim, right? They're just going, I'm just trying to find air. Like, where do I go with this?
Right.
And that's been huge,
What's important for us is we want to help more agents be more successful. Mm-hmm. And, we have great leaders like you, who really want to see that your agents succeed. So you're putting them on a path where they don't have to come to your office and say, hey, you got a sec? What do I do next, right? they're able
Yes.
to follow along, and more importantly, you're able to see them and where they're progressing and where they're getting stuck.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing too. I did identify with a couple of agents where I noticed there was some things not getting done, and I was able to engage in a conversation like, hey, can I help you with anything? You know, I kind of looked at your workflow and I see that you skipped this like a couple times, can we talk about it? And that led to a great conversation, which uncovered a whole bunch of different things, right? But it gave a training opportunity that I maybe wouldn't have recognized before. I actually wouldn't have recognized before, because if they don't say anything to you, you know, and when we think about it, and this is kind of a subject that I think a lot of brokers and admin and leaders don't want to talk about. When we talk about agents switching, right? When they move, oftentimes we don't know why.
Right.
You know, they just go. Next thing you know, they're like, hey, I'm somewhere else. When you look at this to me is, like you said, another key touch point, right? That really allows us to keep track of where they are, but it creates conversation. It creates that two-way conversation by utilizing tech, which a lot of people think of tech as cold and unfeeling and not communicative. But when I look at this, I'm going, actually, it's creating another line of communication that maybe somebody's more comfortable with, that will open up an actual dialogue that wouldn't have happened before. And so I see this as a way for me to be able to keep people engaged and proactively identify if there's something that I need to deliver on, that if there's something I'm not doing as a broker owner that I need to be delivering to my folks that I don't know about, you know? And how cool is that? I mean, information and knowledge is what drives everything that we do. And if I have a way to further uncover that and discover that, that's awesome. So.
And I'm sure you're coming up with different ways to do workflows, like whether, I believe it was Jessica who was doing a commercial deal. That's a whole workflow in itself, right?
Oh gosh, yeah, because she's sitting there going, hey, Steve, and it's funny, her husband's a roofer, so she has this great built-in pipeline, right, of just these people getting, her husband's like, why are you putting a new roof on? Well, we're looking at selling our house. Oh, great, you have an agent, you know, so it's been phenomenal for her. But she had a couple people and she's kind of fallen into this commercial role, and she didn't really realize it. She just got another lead yesterday, and we've been talking about that. So I'm creating a workflow that I'm going to assign to her, which is, what do I do for commercial prospecting, commercial listing appointment, and then the paperwork flow. So I've got 3 different workflows that I'm going to assign to her for her to train on, because she's been saying, Steve, can we sit down and go through this? And we have been, but I identified, I'm like, oh gosh, this is a huge thing that I don't have sitting there right now. I need to get on this and create these workflows. And so the one part is that now when somebody comes to me in the future with that same issue, sign the workflow. It's awesome.
Sure. And I'm sure as the industry changes, regulations, you might have an idea in the middle of the night and think, wait, I have a new way that I can help, you know, make that specific workflow even better.
Well, it's like the big elephant in the room. There has been a little bit of change this year in the industry, right? Specific to commissions and how those are discussed, negotiated, and talked about, right? And there are a lot of agents at a lot of brokerages and just across the nation that are probably a little bit scared, I would say, fearful, not sure how do I approach this conversation. And I see that as a phenomenal, what an opportunity.
Yes, for sure. I mean, I know that negativity fills the void, right? So if the owner isn't communicating regularly, their agents aren't asking those questions of what do I do next? Workflows can absolutely keep that direct line of communication open, and the owner can see if the agent is on task to making sure that they're watching and implementing everything.
Well, yeah, if I look at a deal and I go in and I see where are we having a lot of hangups. Let's say I have an agent and I'm like, gosh, your deals keep crashing at the inspection timeline. Like, what's going on here? So I can build a workflow specific to how do we negotiate and work through the inspection process. Assign that to them, and all of a sudden, if I see now that we're not getting hung up there, cool. It allows me to identify choke points, I guess, if you will, in the process, and how do we eliminate those so that we can get more successful outcomes for both the buyer and the seller. So whichever client we're representing, which is ultimately our client needs. Because if we keep getting stuck in inspections, is that something where, okay, it's, you know, it's problematic, maybe just the properties are having some significant issues that we can't work through, or is it Is it on us? Are we not doing a good job articulating our clients' needs to the other side in a way to find a win-win in that negotiation to where we get our client to their end goal, which is, hey, I want to be in a house. I want to buy a house. I want to invest in my future and find a place for my family, and I'm excited about that. Well, our job is to make sure that we are super adept and very well versed and trained to be there. And workflows are just one more tool in our toolbox. Like, I got my toolbox, I'm coming in. It's one more thing that I can use because, and you bring up some great points about the specificity of the workflow, where I can go in and really dial in a specific point, right? Because our toolbox is only as good as us understanding how to use those tools within it. If I walk in and somebody looks at me and I'm hammering a nail in with a piece of a rock, and they're saying, well, Steve, you have a hammer in your toolbox. And I'm like, well, what's that for? It's a lot easier than what you're doing right now. Yes. The ability to let people know what we have and how to best leverage that piece of information, or in this case, tool, to be able to help you within your career. That's why I was so excited when I heard about workflows, because I realized they can be as little or as big as you want. Like I said, one of them is just a link to a 2-minute video that says, welcome to Exit Tri-Cities Life. The other one is, hey, this is 29 pieces, go through it and take your time.
So good. Let's wrap up. I want you to give our audience some takeaways from this session. So if you can go ahead and give the controls back to me.
Absolutely, I can do that.
We're not done. We want to make sure people walk away with some good information.
Absolutely.
All right. You should be able to see my screen okay, yes?
Yeah, I've got you.
All right, so let's we want them to take action. So let's lean into these topics that you shared with us.
Absolutely.
Tackle number 1.
You got to log into that resource center. If you are not going into that resource center daily, I highly encourage you to.
Yes.
And Annette, this is interesting because I can tell you, I get questions at our meetings that all the information is in the resource center. I can tell exactly who's logging in and who's not. I mean, not only can I see that data from the home screen, but I can tell by the questions that get asked, where I'm like, oh my gosh, it's in the resource center. If you go in and just go into the search bar and search it, you'll find it. So log into the resource center for sure.
Yeah, because they're going to get notifications, right? Right,
yeah, exactly. Like, the home screen tells me if you've been in there or not. I can tell really fast who's going in, right? You can tell who's logging in. I love number 2, practicing to know, right? If we don't practice, we don't know anything. One, I can't help you and explain something to you if I'm not using it, right? And a big part of that is, like I said, you're push all the buttons. You're not going to break anything. No matter what side of this you're on, you're not breaking our system. It's pretty robust. You might end up in it might bring you back to where you started, and that's the worst case scenario. And I think that's a key element of this, is understanding what you're assigning to people, so that when they ask you a question, you're not deer in the headlights, right? You want to be there.
Yes.
And I love 3, getting excited, right? Our tools are so cool. They really are. I mean, they are. I hope that folks that are watching this, that are within the Exit system, are saying, I really need to dive in and jump in, because our tools are amazing. And if you're not part of the Exit system, I hope you're just curious enough to have a chat with us, take a test drive on some of the things we have, because they're really, really cool. And if you're a consumer, download the app and check it out. The app is amazing. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, the Exit Realty Connect app for sure.
Yeah. And the workflows my biggest thing on this is consistent, right? Using workflows for consistent messaging. When we're consistent in what we do, no matter what industry we're in, we're going to stumble upon success, right? Consistency drives you to be successful. It's just that simple. Whether I'm making widgets or I'm selling houses, if I'm consistent, I'm going to have the best at whatever it is that I apply my wares or put my professionalism to. The more consistent I am, the better I'm going to be for everybody involved in the process.
And Steve, for those who, let's talk about, offices that are seasoned, who have been in operation long before the workflows recently came about in Q4 2024. What's your advice to get them to embrace this now?
I love that you asked that. Because here's the thing, I bet I'm going to go out on a limb and say one of their challenges is, I've been doing this for 20 years. There's nothing you can't show me that I don't already know, and I already know how to get my agents engaged. And my challenge to you is, are your agents truly engaged? And if so, and I think I'm not going to doubt that people have that. But how exciting is it for you to add just one more new tool, like one more new tweak? Because tech is changing constantly. I mean, Annette, 2 years ago, where was AI versus where it is today?
True.
Right? And if you didn't embrace AI then, you are certainly on that train now trying to figure it out.
Yes.
But what a great way to sit there and say, hey, I'm going to learn, and let's have everybody else learn with us. Create a workflow for AI. Like, go out and explore AI, see how it can embrace your business. It doesn't have to be something that's super earth-shattering. It can be simply, I'm just going to create a workflow to let my people know that I'm thinking about them, and let them know that, hey, I'm going down this path and this journey, and I see value in it. I want to share it with you, and I want you to share the value. And then again, tying into community and connection and, you know, connectedness and culture, we're all sharing and collaborating. Well, we're all going to get better from that. And whether you have an office that's 2 months old or 20 years old,
right,
if we're collaborating and sharing, we're all going to grow from that, right? And that's the biggest thing, is not being stagnant, not getting stuck. You know, let's figure out ways to continue to engage, get those wheels turning, and find ways to make ourselves better. Like I said, the workflow is just, it's a big component, but it's just one of many things that we have within our toolbox.
Absolutely. And you know, we have franchise support that's standing by, that can help our broker owners and our agents understand and how to use them effectively. You know, they love to help our owners navigate through the workflows if they have questions. But as you said, it's pretty easy to navigate, you know, as you're going through, because it's going to walk you through step by step, and it can't be broken, right? Now, Steve, now you talk about the 3 C's to success, so I couldn't help but have these up on the screen. And of course, I included Steve's information. Remember, he's with Exit Realty Tri-Cities Life in Washington State. Please, you know, I'm sure many of you maybe know agents in that area who are in need of a great leader. I can't think of a better one than you, Steve. So I hope they do reach out to you. But this is your mantra, your 3 C's. Tell us a little bit about, you know, your purpose as well.
Well, a big part of that was I was an independent brokerage before I became an exit franchise, and I jumped in, and I was all in because in full disclosure, I talked to a lot of different people, and a lot of people were talking to me. And exit, I realized that, you know, the paperwork and the process it's already kind of in place, right? So what's the one thing that I can impact? Well, I can impact the experience. And how do I impact the experience? Well, it's by developing a culture. And how do we develop culture? Well, we connect. And when we connect, what happens? We collaborate. These are just natural steps that occur through that. And so I really started thinking about last year, what do I want to embark on to build something really unique? How do I stand out as a brokerage? How do I make Exit different from the other folks in our town here? And this isn't to say anything bad about other brokerages. You know, there's different flavors for different reasons. We all have different things that kind of lift us up and create our area. But for me, I thought, you know, the one thing I really want to hang my hat on is having a culture where we're all very different people and we're independent contractors, right? But how do I tie us together and make us feel as a unit so that we are operating as one solid thing? And that's where the kind of the 3 C's came from. Yeah. And I just started integrating that into everything I do. I mean, I joke about it, and this will be probably backwards, but, you know, I've got here on my weekly meetings, you know, we do it today as a national, this was back in January. Today is National Corn Chip and Puzzle Day, right? So I just kind of make fun things on there. But my big mantra and our value proposition was a unique culture coupled with industry leading training and technology that allows us to have the best agents in the business under one roof. Mm. So, that's and then
good one.
Yeah. So when I thought, well, how do I accomplish that? Well, heck, workflows, that's a big part of that, right? Because it's my training, you know, and it just ties us into the same page. So it's just utilizing the tools we have in a way that helps support what my goals are as a business. And that's what our resource center and the workflows really do. You know, if I'm a 20-year, like you said, a 20-year brokerage, how can I use this to support? And I challenge everybody out there. I guarantee you will find a way to have these workflows that to support and grow your business. And I think you'll be blown away by the results.
You know, just being aware of what are those processes, write them down, collaborate with the agents to create the best one, get feedback from your people. You don't have to assign it to everybody, but maybe you have a core group of people that you say, come on, I really want to do this. I want to learn this so that we can all be better. That's where the collaboration and the connectedness really, really takes shape.
Oh, big time. Yeah. And like I said, and if you're not sure where to start, ask your agents.
Yes.
Where do you need help? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Steve. You've been amazing. I included your vanity code for your mobile business card, so people can text Lambert to 85377. We're so grateful to you, Steve. Thank you so much for your time. And for our attendees, you know, we've got the theme for next month of April, which is the spirit of exit. We're going to focus on philanthropy and the impact of giving. So you can look to more information on that throughout the month of April. Our next month's Techinar is on Wednesday, the 23rd at noon Eastern Standard Time. It's always the fourth Wednesday of every month, so make sure that you add it to your calendars now. Connect with us on social media. You can find us at Exit Realty Corp International, wherever you're connected socially. Go visit realestateindustryleaders.com. That's our blog. So many great articles that are just good to read. It can help you in your business, but they're also shareable. So I love being able to share that as well. You can go to also our YouTube channel by either texting Exit TV to 85377, or you can just go to YouTube and find us. It's Exit Realty Videos. By the way, if you go to the Exit Realty Videos on YouTube, we have a playlist called Technology Training for Real Estate Agents, and that's where you can find this recording from today's session readily available to you there. But we've got about 63 or so videos, so you can definitely catch up if you're unfamiliar with that playlist. But everyone, thank you so much for your time. You know that we know that you have a choice when thinking about where you're going to spend your time and how you're going to learn. We're so grateful that you spent your time with us. And for those who took advantage of the exit workflows, make sure that you lean in. And if you need help, as always, our franchise support team is standing by. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Take care.